Hello again. We are Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to preview opening week matchup between Texas and Colorado State. That will be in Austin. Texas's first game as a member of the Southeastern Conference, hosting the Rams from beautiful Fort Collins, Colorado. If you've never been, and I've been many times, highly recommend it. Texas will be about a 35-point favorite. You can see this at 2:30 Central on ESPN. Chase, before we jump into the matchup, tell us who it's brought by.
Yeah, all of our content brought to you by BetOnline. They are the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from UFC to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. And when the game's over, you can go to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or one of the over 150 slots games. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. That is promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Bet online. The game starts here.
All right, let's start where I think it's the most interesting. Look, it's a 35-point line. We're not sitting here telling you there's going to be a barn burn in the fourth quarter. But if something crazy happens, and things occasionally do in college football, I think it starts with Colorado State's offense. Jay Norvell, third year in Fort Collins, done a really good job after coming over from Nevada. And they have got some dudes, which is hard to do at a Mountain West school in this day and age, between NFL draft taking your upperclassmen and, the portal taking the rest. But he managed to hang on to his quarterback, Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi, I think it is. Started his last 11 games, threw for 3,460 yards, 22 touchdowns. Now, here's the problem, 16 picks. But he's got some good players around him. Tory Horton, 1,136 yards receiving, 8 scores. And then watch for a little trickery. He threw 3 passes last year. One of them went for a touchdown. 3 offensive line starters. Justin Marshall, their running back, came on late, had, I think, some 100-yard games late. We'll talk about Texas defense. But I think if Colorado State has an angle to keeping this more interesting than people think, that's where it starts.
Yeah, Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi, it's impressive. I mean, he started, he didn't play week 1. He played the rest of the games. And really never looked back from there as a redshirt freshman and came in. You read the numbers. What is it? 3,460 yards. But the turnovers is a problem, and that's what I'm sure, been looking in the offseason and correcting some things. And again, he was a redshirt freshman, so he's got a lot of football ahead of him, and to cut down on some of those mistakes for sure. But really impressed with him and what he can do. And again, Tony Horton, wide receiver, 96 catches, 1,136 yards. He was first team All Mountain West, and so he's got a good target to go to. And you mentioned Justin Marshall. He averaged about 5.5 yards per carry last year, and so they'll be looking for him to move the ball, as well as Damian Henderson. And then they're really high on Kobe Johnson and Avery Morrow as well, two younger guys who have come in at running back. So there's 4 strong running backs, and obviously Marshall will be the guy to get most of the touches, but they'll be able to get some fresh legs in a lot as well with a big running back room.
Now, I think one of the problems here for Colorado State is going to be that Texas defense. And do these guys have some dudes across the board. Let's start up front. Ethan Burke, defensive end, Alfred Collins at tackle, both all SEC caliber players. Trey Moore from UTSA, one of the better transfers in the league. And boy, this league got some really good transfer linemen in the portal. This kid last year, 18 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, I think was the American Athletic Player of the Year. He's probably a backup for the Longhorns. They brought in Tia Savea and Bill Norton from Arizona. His transfers, middle linebacker Anthony Hill, one of the best in the league. Malik Muhammad, one of the better corners. Andrew Makuba, the safety transfer from Clemson. I just think the problem for Colorado State staying competitive in this game, and again, that's where we're trying to look for lines of interest here, is going to be all that talent in that front 7 that they are going to have to try to block. And they've got 3 returning starters, but a couple of new guys that have played at a lower level and are probably not going to be used to seeing what the Longhorns are going to throw at them.
Yeah, this is a really, really good defensive front for Texas. You mentioned all those names, and and all these guys who have some preseason honors and could end up all SEC when it's all said and done. And really, there's guys spread out all over the Texas defense who are really good and who are, again, preseason all SEC. And so it's a really good defense. And again, Colorado State, they've got some guys that can move the ball, that can make some plays, but you're going against one of the best defenses in the country, really, in Texas. And the players they've brought in out of the portal have been very good. And it's going to be a good defense as they're looking to replace some there for Texas. But it's going to be a huge test for Colorado State, really, to move the ball against what we're going to see in the defense of Texas.
Let's flip sides of the ball as we do this. It is mid-August. Texas has lost CJ Baxter for the season, turning the job over to Jaydon Blue at tailback. I think, though, the headliner, Quinn Ewers, who's coming into what should be a Heisman Trophy challenging campaign. He's got Arch Manning behind him. If this one gets out of hand, I would expect you to see lots of Manning. He gets to try out his new weapons. Two guys from Alabama, Isaiah Bond at receiver, Amari Niblack, who I love, at tight end. They've got one of the best left tackles in the business, and Kelvin Banks. I think if you're Texas, I think it's going to be very hard for Colorado State to get stops. Yes, Colorado State's got some good players back, but this team lost the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, Mohamed Kamara, to the NFL and still allowed nearly 30 points a game. They've got Chase Wilson back, Jack Howell back. Those are their standouts. But I just look across the board. Silas Bolden, transfer from Oregon State, going to make his debut, I guess, in the slot for the Longhorns. Again, I just look at, I think this is where the matchup gets really one-sided when you throw all the weapons Steve Sarkisian is going to bring against Jay Norvell's defense.
Yeah, and just in what I've been reading and looking into Colorado State, that the secondary is where there's the most inexperience on the roster for Colorado State. This is a game where they're gonna have to kind of plug and play with some guys, trying to fit guys in and who works best in the secondary. They got Isaiah Asima and Elias Larry both coming in. They're seeing if they can work some in the secondary. They got them out of the portal, but the secondary has the most issues, has the most inexperience. And when you're playing a team like Texas with a quarterback like Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning and receivers like Isaiah Bond and Silas Bolden and DeAndre Moore, Texas has a chance to put up a lot of points in this game. If the defense of Colorado State can't hold up, which, again, this is going to be a huge challenge for them. We're not saying this is going to be a close game by any means, because this Texas offense is really good, and I think they'll be able to. Colorado State will be able to learn from this game in some areas that they'll get exposed in as far as the secondary goes.
Chase, last year, Colorado State played two Power 5 teams. The first two games, a 25-point loss, 26-point loss to Washington State, and then falling to Colorado in week 2 when Colorado was playing its better ball. But let's face it, neither of those teams, the caliber of the Longhorns. I think this game goes more of the way of the Washington State game, probably more than the 26-point margin, and I will be surprised. I think the Longhorns are just loaded. They are a legitimate national title contender, a legitimate SEC title contender. If Texas has problems with Colorado State, say past midway through the second quarter, I'll be surprised. I'll take the Longhorns in a blowout.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this will be a game where Texas can go out, put up some big numbers, and say, hey, we're for real again. Pay attention to the Longhorns, because I think that's definitely going to be the case this year. And I think with a quarterback like Quinn Ewers and with the players that they have, then you got to watch out for this team. And I think they can prove a big point in this game one against Colorado State with the numbers that they're able to put up against the Rams. So, yeah, I'm going Longhorns in this one also.
All right, we'll take Texas to win in the welcome to the SEC game. Speaking of the SEC, we've got you covered wall-to-wall. Football, men's basketball, baseball. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, so you can check out all our content. And we go year-round on those 3 sports. And I think you'll love what we do. We go in-depth in all of them. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 16, presented by Bet Online.